my name is Harrington from the Fintech Times, and we are here at Fintech Week London with Nadia. Nadia, how are you doing today?
I'm really good. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of your show.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm so thrilled to have you here. I feel like we're going to really get into the nitty-gritty and have a fantastic chat today. But first of all, why don't you give us a bit of an intro as to yourself and the kind of things that you do?
Yeah, so my name's Nadia, as you said. I'm the Chief Customer Officer of a company called Harrington. I've been in recruitment for nearly 20 years, which gives away my age a bit. We started Harrington in 2010. So a recruitment agency that specialises in placing technologists and salespeople into financial services and the whole spectrum of that. So you remember the world in 2010. You can imagine all the changes that have happened from a talent perspective over that time. And one thing I've learned is that we have got to have better environments, more inclusive environments, so that people want to work here and want to stay here a long time. So I've pretty much dedicated my entire career to that end by celebrating the best of the companies and really trying to showcase what does best practice look like.
Yeah, fantastic. And I know obviously diversity inclusion, like you said, is very much your bread and butter, your entire thing. So much so that you wrote a book about it. I'd love to just talk about that very briefly, even though I know it came out a little while ago now, but what was the sort of process behind that book for you and how it came about?
Yeah, and thank you for asking that, because yes, it was published last year, but it really was my heart and soul, because I was celebrating 120 people from the financial technology industry, so from financial services and new startup fintechs, and 100 of them were women. So I called the book Fintech Women Walk the Talk. Walk the Talk is my hashtag on everything, and it's basically that call to action, like let's please start doing rather than just saying. And that book itself, the reason why I quoted so many people is because going back to 2019, I've been recording podcasts. They're now called the DEI discussions, but the first 100 of them were purely with women within the fintech space. And I was talking to these women about their careers, about their challenges, about what they had to do to succeed in this industry, about their pay, about whether they were promoted fairly, how they got recognized for their ideas, or if they didn't, and we had really heartfelt conversations, and we celebrated their companies, and we spoke about what do we truly need to do to make this industry inclusive? The whole thought process around those pods was that I wanted to celebrate these women, and I wanted to showcase to the world that women do exist in fintech. And I got to, episode 100, 110, and I thought to myself, wow, this is so special. I want to do more with it. And so I applied to a number of book publishers, and Palgrave Macmillan came back, and the rest was history.
Amazing. And how have you found the reaction, now coming into this year? It's been out in the world for a while. How's the response been to your ideas?
Yeah, I mean, it's up and down, because I think, you've got a whole camp of people that just understand that inclusion and diversity of thought is incredibly important to any business, and they get it. And they understand that if they want to create environments that really heighten the concept of high performance and really put them into a position where they are more likely to be successful, they realise that inclusion is a part of that. So they're interested, and they want to, I'm talking about C-level, CEOs, leaders, but also peers and newcomers to the industry. And you've got that camp of people who are like, right, what do we need to do? How do we do it? Let's learn, let's get educated, let's get better. You still have naysayers out there who don't see this as important, who have probably been having a really good time without inclusion being a part of the day-to-day for them. And that's still a problem. And that's a problem that I believe all of us should be looking to try and change. You then have another camp of people who understand it's important, but they don't see it as their bag. It's not down to them to make that change happen. So I'm really interested in that group, the first group and that group, because naysayers, really happy for them not to be my people, and that's okay. But the people that don't think it's their bag because they're not really sure that they should be involved, I love talking to them. And I love being able to support their companies and how they can get better, and in turn showcase some of the most amazing talent that's out there that never would have ever been considered for the sector before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is everyone's bag, right? Like everyone should be thinking about diversity on one, whether we speak about gender or like any other diverse thought as well. I mean, why is it so important, do you think, in your opinion?
So I think there's a number of things, and I'm quite vocal about this. Number one, I think the easiest one for us in fintech, and I talk about the fintech mindset, right? Did we ever think we could get the banks to change the way they do things, right? Pandemic hit, fintechs exploded. Look what's happened. Look at the things that we're doing that we never ever considered. Remember that first day after it was all announced in the UK that we had to work from home? And do you know what? Financial services still kept on moving. If we're capable of doing those things, we're capable of making so much other change, but we need that diversity of thought to understand what are the challenges, who are the people that we're trying to reach, how can we understand who we're trying to reach and respond to their needs if we only have a certain demographic and a certain ideology within the room. That to me is the first and the easiest thing to think about. And I think fintech is super set up to be encouraging that diversity of thought to build the better products. But also there's been so much data and so much research on how you get different personalities, different thought processes, different experiences into a room to proper stress test things and to come up with new ways of doing things. And today at FinTech Week, everyone's talking about innovation, and with innovation comes risk. Well, with all of that, you want the best minds on that. You want different perspectives. And that different perspective piece to me is super important. And as a recruiter in this space, I hold that as highly as I would somebody having a certain coding language experience. Because if you have 20 people who have 10 years worth of Java coding in one particular environment, you now need somebody from a different environment.
No, absolutely. But I guess, how do you action that? How can people walk the talk, as it were? How can they make that happen within their organisation?
So I always say, first and foremost, it's about making sure the organisation is looking after the current people within it, which I know sounds funny coming from a recruiter, because I should be saying, hire different demographics. But I actually think, number one, you need to look after who you have, understand their experiences. And one of the best exercises I've seen is when you look at who you have and you actually say to yourself, let's not try and put them into groups or demographics. Let's just listen to everybody for their own stories and their own points of view and their own backgrounds and their own opinions. And how do we do that if people don't feel safe in sharing? So actually the number one thing is psychological safety. And a really nice way of testing this is next time the CEO comes up with an idea or an opinion, that CEO to ask themselves, who would tell me I'm wrong or who would disagree with me? And if no one would, means there isn't much safety within your business. And I think that is the first thing to be looking at, because once you have that safety, you have feedback, you have your talented individuals that have dedicated their career to your business being able to talk to you about how they feel in your business, how they believe they can or cannot progress. Once we understand that, then we can start looking to add other people within that, and then being open and safe with them on whatever their needs may be. So for me, it's you start internally first, and then you come and partner with somebody like myself, so we can help you find the many, many overlooked and undervalued people that are out there that will be fantastic new talents for any business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess investing in new talent, that's how you move forward, right? That's how you get the growth and the innovation and all those other lovely things that fintech companies want to have. And how is best to go about that? I mean, obviously, then, other than partnering with someone like yourself, but how can you find that talent that's worth investing in?
So I think there's so much that you can do yourself. So I talk a lot about this perception U-turn. So I think we need to be realistic. A lot of people outside the world of fintech have a certain perception of our world. So, if you spoke to anybody, and any of us can do this, you're going to speak to your friends, you're going to speak to family who are not in the world of financial services or technology, they will probably have a negative viewpoint of our industry because they don't know enough about it. So I think there needs to be a much, much bigger focus on the media attention on us and when we're doing good things. And I don't think that's necessarily only a company and sole responsibility thing of that company. I think it's a wider, it's to do with the regulators, it's to do with the government. I think there's so much that we can do to change what this industry looks like to people from outside of it. How do we get this industry to look like a great career option for people? And that's something that I've dedicated my efforts to with my podcast, with the book. Our company, Harrington, we produce 3 times a year a magazine celebrating the best of the industry. We've seen the Fintech Times, the Fintech magazine. These are great things to really showcase what is best practice in this industry, what are the exciting things. And I think what I think is so important is if these companies are making sure that they're showcasing on their websites, in their job descriptions, every time they do any sort of media partnership or any media outlet, they're talking about why this would be a great career for somebody as well, so that we can do this perception U-turn shift.
Yeah, fantastic. And I guess just finally then, what are your hopes for the future? Where, obviously, that's a very big question, but what do you hope we will see when it comes to diversity in fintech?
Yeah. So my hopes are that we can end up having a fintech space that I am super proud of. You know, like I come to certain events, and today being one of them, where I'm like, wow, what a brilliant representation of our industry up on the stage, in the audience, with the media partners. It's fantastic, a brilliant representation. And then I think to myself, what I would love is for that representation to go further into each of the companies, because we still have problems that we need to solve. Technology, I call it the pointy end of it. So the coding, DevOps, security, these are the areas that people typically struggle to hire within. And I think there's so much that we can do there to showcase to young people from all over the world, from all demographics. These are great ways that they can build their career, they can dedicate their life to, and what opportunity that will bring for them in terms of their own progression and their choices later on in life. So my hopes are around how we can do more of that. So I'm an industrial fellow to the University of East London, and I love partnering with them, and I love introducing speakers from days like today to their boot camps, because it's all about how we can look after next generation, bring them into the industry whilst being really proud of who we've got here already.
Amazing. Well, Nadia, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure to chat to you.
Thank you.